Olympic Sprints by Philip Kendall. The dust hung hazy over the field, like a fuzziness to the vision, settling on people and trees and marking them as children of the dust. The sun was invisible, shrouded in an ash-gray blanket that cloaked the sky from horizon to horizon. The wind whistled over the grass and picked up some of the dust and let some of it settle back down as it blew past. It was still early morning, and the dust blocking out the sun made the wind cold as it blew across the field. Dozens of students, over 100, easily 200, gathered at the edge of the field. The younger children chattered excitedly to each other as they shivered in the cold and waited. The older children chattered apathetically, reviving lines of conversation they would have pursued on any day of the week. They had been there and done that, and they knew that today would be about the same as last year, as the year before that, as the year before that. Besides, it was dusty. The directions shouted into the air were shouted into the dust, and the dust took them and kept them and declined to share. Someone else repeated them, louder, and the dust was thwarted as the students began to move. Like a cloud drifting across the sky of green grass, they drifted along the field, settling like dust on a blade of grass along the sprinting track. The contestants ran youngest to oldest. The younger children stepped up to the line, nervously in some cases, confident in others. Their emotions showed raw on their faces: fear, determination, cheerfulness. To some, this was just another race, another activity among hundreds of diverting pastimes that swept up their joy and attention and were gone a moment later. Others among them felt the weight of the crowd chattering and cheering around them, felt the weight of the uncommon occasion. They were performing in front of a vast audience, and that knowledge sobered them. "They're so cute!" Staring through the dust at the long, long expanse of grassy track staring back at them, the children felt anything but cute. The sheer importance of what was about to happen pressed on them, filling their minds like the dust that permeated the air around them and writing itself plainly across their faces for all to see. This was an event that happened once in a lifetime. The older children were more philosophical. They had, perhaps, seen several such once-in-a-lifetime events, and while this one was dustier than most, they knew it was not so extraordinary. Their faces showed more reserve, and their heads drooped less when they lost. But they were far from apathetic, for they, too, were aware of nearly 200 spectators watching their performance. And they were aware of their friends and classmates who had failed to qualify. Like a layer of dust, a focus on the race covered over the regular cares and concerns of life, so that the foremost thing in the minds of the sprinters was the contest spread out before them. On your marks, get set, go. The crowd erupted in cheering, and the dust swirled stormily around the sprinters as they thrust it aside. Legs and arms propelled them mightily along the track, hurling them towards the low cement wall at the other end. They swerved, skidding to a stop at the last moment to keep from crashing into it. The crowd cheered for a few more seconds, then fell back to the pervasive rumbling of dozens of people chattering. The omnipresent dust swirled around the watching crowd, blowing in wisps and gusts across the field. The crowd shifted, moving back and forth along the length of the track as individuals adjusted their position. The dust was growing lighter as the sun grew stronger, and the people grew warmer, and they stood a little taller, taking their hands out of their pockets and standing up straighter as they were warmed by the warmth of the sun. The last race was run, the last winner won, and the adults and the spectators moved on, their interest gone, like a dusty table that has been thoroughly wiped with a dust rag. But the children did not forget. Not the faster children, who had come out first and been cheered and congratulated and then forsaken for the next winner, their victory forgotten by all but themselves. Nor the slower children, those who had been left in the dust, who had cried a little, or perhaps only felt like it, when they saw that they had not won. The arrival of other memories would cover these memories like new layers of dust, filling the finger marks in old layers of dust, cloaking the surface once more. The rest of the world had already moved on, but they would never move on. Though the day's importance would lessen as more important days arrived, it had been burned indelibly into their memory, and the marks were freshly visible.